Hello, welcome to the Surf and River Report. Today we're at the Santa Barbara Small Boat Harbor discussing fishing with longtime local fisherman Mike McCorkle. Mike, how do you do?
Glad to meet you.
Same here. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself? When did you start fishing?
I started fishing when I was 12 years old on boats on the ocean. Before that, I fished in freshwater. Then I got a job, I didn't get paid for it, but working on a sport fishing boat with a fellow named Bruce Barnes. And then I went into commercial fishing, and I would work in the summertime for different captains fishing for albacore, mainly.
Well, there's a lot of difference between now and then for fishing, isn't there? Back then we had large schools of bonita. Are they?
Yeah, there's bonita still, but they don't always come here.
Uh-huh.
There was about a 20-year period where we didn't have any bonita. But in Santa Barbara, the bonita usually come in as early as September, and they stay till as late as February. And they like it up around Point Conception and Point Arguello for some reason, because there's a lot of current there. And they go up there, and so the boats used to come from San Pedro and fish on the Gaviota coast for them. Purse seine boats would catch them. They can them, bonita, and they used to have a cannery. There's no more canneries in San Pedro or Long Beach or San Diego, but they can bonita, and they ship it to the Midwest because they won't put it on the market here because it's as good or better than albacore. And it affects the albacore price because they don't pay that much for bonita. But I catch bonita trolling, and I bleed them right away, and I ice them, and they go to sushi bars, and they love them.
They're still big fish? We're talking about 4,
They're
5,
from
6
like
pounders?
6 to 12, 14 pounds. Yeah. You know, in San Pedro, when I grew up, I fished barracuda for a long time. That was one of the most popular fish in California, in Southern California.
They're some of the funnest
And
to catch on
all
rod and
fish
reel.
markets had barracuda. They smoked it. They had it fresh. And it just kind of, they got a lot of water pollution that came around in San Pedro area in the channel. They were dumping acid out in the channel off of these plants inside of Procter & Gamble was dumping soap out on barges in the channel, and then they were drilling those oil wells in the Long Beach harbor, and they took all the drilling mud and dumped it in the channel, and the barracuda wouldn't come there.
How about yellowtail? Are they still a viable fish here?
There's yellowtail, but in this area here, they don't come here very often because the water's not warm enough for them. They're getting a lot of yellowtail down by Coronado's right now, and in La Jolla they're getting yellowtail, and at Catalina they're getting a few, but we've had an unusually cold spring, and the water's just now starting to get warm. So you'll see more yellowtail maybe in the end of July and August because you're going to have a little warmer water. I don't know if they've caught any so far this year yet, but they're going to catch some later in the summer when the water conditions are right. Fish go where they're happy. If you're not happy, you don't stay around. That's the same with fish. So the yellowtail, basically, they come from Mexican waters. And they come up to California, and they go right back if they're not happy here.
As a commercial fisherman, have you noticed a decline in the fishery since you were a young person?
I've seen, to me, there's plenty of fish. The one thing that makes a decline is an El Nino or a La Nina, where if a fish likes a certain water temperature and it's not here, he's going to be where that water temperature is. So when you get El Nino in Southern California, the water gets pretty warm. And the fish that like 60-degree water and stuff, they're not going to be here. They're going to be up the coast where the water's, or offshore somewhere. And so you get a 10-year El Nino, you'll see a big decline in fish population. And people think, well, there isn't any fish, but the fish, to me, they're somewhere else. And you watch the water temperature will get that the fish like, there they are, they come back again.
So you're fishing halibut now.
Yeah.
Have you always fished halibut as a mainstay in your
No, I
catch?
fish for everything, all kinds of stuff. If you're a fisherman like myself now, you can't make a living fishing just one species of fish. Because if an El Nino comes, that fish isn't here, how am I going to fish for it? You have to be able to move to where that fish is. If it happens to be at San Diego, you have to be able to go to San Diego. And then another thing a fisherman has to have A couple things. One is you have to have a gear for every kind of fishery because you use different things for each fishery. And you also have to have, now everything is limited entry, so you have to have a permit.
Have these regulations made it more difficult for you as a fisherman?
Well, different groups use commercial fishermen as a bad guy because of problems in the environment. And commercial fisherman, if there's no fish, he can't make a living. And he's a better environmentalist than a lot of people are, because he's always, like myself, I've been fishing for 54 years. And I've owned a boat for 54 years, and I fish all the time, and I see changes in things. I see the ocean, the water getting dirty, I see the water getting clean, I see bait come, I see bait go, I see stuff, because I'm trained to do that, because I know what's going on. Fishermen communicate. Some environmental groups are anti-fishing, and that shouldn't be that way. Everybody should be together, like you just said, because if we work together, we can keep things good, keep the ocean good. We don't, this guy's bad and I'm good, because that's not the way it is. You need to work together if you're going to keep the ocean good, because if you don't, it's going to get screwed up. And there's people around that don't care if they screw up the ocean. Thankfully, we've held things together, and I think in this channel, actually the Pacific coast is in pretty good shape as far as pollution. I mean, there's pollution. Who sees pollution first? The fishermen, because some fish don't like pollution. As soon as it burns their eyes, or it burns sharks, or one thing, and they don't like, if you got a sewer outfall pumping a lot of chlorine and stuff in the water, the shark will never come near it again. He goes away and he won't come back. It's not because there's no sharks. They're somewhere. They'll go where the water's clean. Albacore, they used to come right into off of San Pedro, Horseshoe Kelp outside there. It came to Dana Point, came to Rocky Point. They don't come there anymore. Well, why?
So in the overall scheme of things, they've had the salmon fishery closed down last year. They didn't think it was going to open this year, primarily because of problems on the Klamath River. Are any of these closures affect you down here?
Yeah, every closure affects fishermen. Every marine protected area closure affects fishermen. There's going to be a big effect in Southern California when they put the marine protection MLPA process. When they vote whichever option, they're probably going to vote for the preferred alternative. It's going to put some guys in Santa Barbara and Oceanside out of business in the lobster fishery. The option 2 that the fishermen came up with will not do that. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt me. I'm going to lose about 14% of my area where I catch sea cucumbers and halibut, but I can live with that. But it's going to take a big percentage out of some guys, and so it's every closure, every seasonal. I have a salmon permit. I have a salmon boat. I haven't been able to fish salmon for 2 years, and it hurt because everything you catch, you add it all up. You put this fish, that fish, this fish, and at the end of the year in the pot, you can survive. Take one away, you can't survive.
That's true with a lot of small business.
Yeah.
For the Surf and River Report, this is Bill Rogers at the Santa Barbara Harbor. Thank you, Michael.
Environmental impacts on our coastal communities have never been greater. From pollution to climate change, coastal communities are ground zero. The Surf and River Report brings you the latest developments impacting our coastal communities. We'll talk with experts about how environmental pollution, development, and climate change is affecting our coastal and river ecosystems. It's all right here on the Surf and River Report.